Check, check, test, test. What's that? Test, test, check, check. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Can you see me? Are we back on live at the Spring Folly live stream? Are we live streaming on the same link? So I'm getting nothing up here. Check, check, test, test. Check and test. Check, check.
Refresh your page. They're hearing you.
Check, check, test, test. Well, if you're telling me I'm up, I'll go. We're good? Ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. We are live and ready to go with the Spring Folly live stream. I hope you can hear me, and this is going to be a test to see if you can hear me or not. We're going to run some quizzes, some trivia, some contests, and you can send me a message on Instagram. And so if you've got Instagram, you're going to go to Spring Folly's Instagram page, spring_folly, and we're going to run a contest here. The first person who messages me their name is going to win a prize. The first person to message me their name on Instagram, and then that way I'll know that you can hear me. And we're coming through loud and clear. We've got a great night planned for tonight. Thanks so much for sticking with us. We're going to just give a little bit of time for our friends who lost the first live stream to come back on. And so the first person who sends me a message on Spring Folly Instagram is going to win themselves a prize. All you have to do is send me your name. Send me your name on the Spring Folly Instagram account, and you will win a prize. So, we have our first person through. Here we go. Let me see. The first person to win a prize tonight, and that was close. That was very close. Two came in very quickly. Sam Cowley wins a prize. What does Sam Cowley win? We're going to go to the Spring Folly prize box, the treasure chest. We're going to open it up. Sam, you have won a copy of Manifest's new CD. Manifest performed at Spring Folly in 2013 and 2017. If you were there, you saw them. So Sam, you win the very first prize there. I'm just going to mark your name down so that I know you've got it. We'll get that to you. Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're so glad that you've tuned in. Before I go any further, I just want to say a quick happy birthday to Serena Down. Today is Serena's birthday. Kind of bummed out that she can't do her big birthday thing, and so because she's in isolation. And so instead, we thought we'll just wish her a happy birthday. So happy birthday from Spring Folly, Serena. All right, time for another contest here. Those of you who are sitting there, you're getting ready. Let's see what we got. Another contest. Let's see. The first person who can message me a photo from Spring Folly last year. Send me a photo of you or someone at Spring Folly 2019, and I'll give you a prize from the Spring Folly treasure chest. So go ahead, send me a quick thing in there. First person who sends me a picture of them at Spring Folly is going to win another prize. Now, here's what we're going to do tonight. Tonight, we're going to have a series. We're going to check in with some old Spring Folly friends, and we're going to check in with some new Spring Folly friends. The old friends are people who you've seen at Spring Folly in the past. The new Spring Folly friends are people who were supposed to come this year to Spring Folly, but because of the coronavirus, we're kind of doing this separately and virtually. And that's okay for now. This will tide us over until next year when we're able to all get together, Lord willing, and have a great weekend at Spring Folly at Central Algoma Secondary School. So, first person who sends me a picture from Spring Folly last year on the Spring Folly Instagram account is going to get themselves a prize. And so we'll just keep an eye out for that to see who the first person who comes in is. Well, we're going to talk to some old friends, and we hope that you'll follow along with us for this night. We're going to talk to some people who you've seen at Spring Folly in the past. We're going to talk to some people who you may know. We're supposed to come this year. It's going to be a mix of some interviews. We're going to catch up with some people. We're going to see some music videos, and then we're going to enjoy a talk from Logan Gates. Logan is with Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, and we're looking forward to hearing what Logan has to say. He's got a message of hope for us tonight at Spring Folly. Why don't we just start things off right off the bat? We'll announce people who are the winners as we go when we come back. But let's check in with our friends Shawn and Michael from Manic Drive. They rocked Spring Folly in 2007, 2009, and 2016. In fact, I think their concert in 2016 is one of the top 3 concerts we've ever had at Spring Folly. It was hands down, flat out amazing. And so why don't we check in with Scott and Michael from Manic Drive and see how they're doing. Well, hey, Michael. Hey, Shawn. Welcome back to Spring Folly. We're so glad that you're able to join us tonight.
Thank you for having us. Woot, woot.
Well, this is good. Hey, listen, what are you guys doing right now? Like, you're hunkered down? We're all socially isolating. What are you filling your time with during the pandemic?
Oh, well, actually, Shawn and I kept on busy. We built a couple of sheds, cut down a couple of trees. Shawn's ready to become a father in June.
Hey, so, congratulations.
The babies with him the other day. So a lot of crazy rock and roll stuff. Yeah.
The non-glamorous kind of stuff that they don't think of when they think of rock stars.
It's pretty glamorous. It's a very much of a sparkling color that we're using for the baby's room. Yeah.
Excellent. And Shawn, you guys working on some new tunes too, I hear.
Yeah, we're taking advantage of this time since we can't be on the road. Just songwriting, and we were planning on actually songwriting during this time frame anyway. So we're really focusing on that, and just having as much fun as we possibly can, bunkered down in a basement studio.
All right, sounds good. Well, I like to start things off with a little bit of fun, just so that all the teens who are new at Spring Folly can get to know you guys. So we're gonna play a game called 2 Truths and a Lie. So you're going to think of 2 things about yourself that are true and one that is the lie. And then I'll try and guess that, and then I'll flip it. I'll do the same for you. All righty. So which of you wants to go first?
Oh man, I got to think of a lie because you know what? I'm a really good Christian and I just never lie. So I can't believe you're asking this of us.
I know. I can't believe it. So, Michael, I guess you're the one going first.
As an actor, I could really put on the my method acting and just like switch on any character I want. So I could probably do this very well.
Okay.
So 2 truths and a lie. Do I start with the truth, then follow, or just
no? You don't tell us, Michael. You don't. You just mix order.
Just mix up whatever stories.
Mix them up, and I will try and figure it out.
So one thing is, I'm a professional swordsman. I climbed actually Mount Fuji in Japan, and I love chocolate brownies.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess that the chocolate brownies is true. You look, wow, that's hard because you kind of look like a warrior, but you look like an athlete too. So I'm not sure which to go with on whether the mountain climber or the swordsman. I'm going to say the lie is the professional swordsman.
You're wrong. Actually,
no way.
Wrong. Yeah, I fool around with swords. Actually, hold on a second. I'll show you something.
Get out. That is awesome.
Just so you know, I'm not telling a lie. We call this an Italian longsword, and there's actually, I'll give you a shout out. The class is called West End Swords, just in West Toronto. So, yep, I study historical swordmanship.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So you burned me on that. So what's the lie?
I've never been to Mount Fuji in Japan, so.
Man, okay.
No, actually, I would love to. That would be something I wish to do in the future, but.
Okay. Shawn, you're up.
Okay. So let's see. Okay, first thing is I convinced a vegan to eat chicken. I asked Taylor Swift to the Dove Awards, and I have the Green Power Rangers autograph.
Oh man, you guys are good at this. Holy crow. Okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the lie is inviting T Swift to the Doves. I think that's the lie. I think that's the lie.
Okay, I have to be honest. All of those are true, actually. I couldn't think of a lie.
You can't do that.
I know I cheated, so there's my lie. But they're all crazy stories. I was thinking about all the things. I was like, dude, I got so much stuff that people don't believe is true. So I'll just start naming them.
So did she say yes?
Yeah, we had a drummer that was a vegan, and somehow he was hungry enough, and I just kind of like reached out to him.
That's one way of doing it. Starve a vegan. Yeah, that's one way of doing it.
We were on the road, so it's tough. And then for the Taylor Swift thing, our publicist, which is like the person that's in charge of putting your name out there for award ceremonies, and Dove Awards is like the biggest Christian award ceremony, and we're invited out to it. And we thought it was the funniest thing to keep it on the down low, but we kept on telling everybody associated with GMAs and the Dove Awards that to save an extra seat because Taylor Swift was coming.
No way.
And they were so excited. They're like, really? For real? She's coming?
It's interesting.
We had like words and stuff.
Ever since that stunt, we've never been asked back to the Dove
We've never
Awards.
been back.
Maybe the joke's on us.
Oh,
but no, we remember the guest list, and they said Manic Drive +1, and it was Taylor Swift.
Yeah. But, she never said no. She never said yes. She never responded, but now I'm married, so I'm off the market.
I think, Sean, she's playing hard to get.
Yeah.
I knew she was trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys, when did you guys form Manic Drive? Back in 04 or something like that?
Yeah, we were in a transitional state in 04. We had started recording our first album, Reason for Motion, and then basically went full time as far as touring and promoting the album in 05. So 04, 05 is when we were kind of kicking things off.
Cool. And we've had you 3 times at Spring Fall. Oh, hey, before we go any further, I've got to give you my 2 truths and a lie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I mean, I was skipping that. Okay, so here we go. Mine are real simple. I have eaten elk. I have eaten crocodile. I have eaten kangaroo.
I've done 2 out of 3 of those things. And the one I didn't do was kangaroo, because they're such beautiful, innocent creatures. I'm hoping that's a lie.
About the kangaroo, because good Christians don't eat kangaroos. And you just had the Newsboys, and a couple of them are Australian, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and isn't it in Leviticus or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Australian Vicus.
Yeah.
Book, my favorite book.
The lie is that I've never eaten elk. Actually.
Really?
You know what? My sister went to Australia, and she came back with crocodile and kangaroo jerky in a package. So she wanted me to taste these things, and so I don't recommend either of them.
emotions? Are we too comfortable? Have we settled short? Has the city made us fragile? Cage of safety, glass and concrete protect us from our fear. I know there's shelter here, but I'm running to the frontier. And in this moment, it's all clear. I don't have to go, but I can't stay here. Now that I see it, guess I'll be leaving into the wild. It's a jungle up there, but we don't care about the lions. And we march towards the giants into the wild. It's a jungle up there, so we dare to be courageous, even though these roads are dangerous. Though we've never been here before, this adventure is an open door. Tell me what you've been waiting for. Why don't we go into the wild? It's a jungle up there, but we don't care about the lions. And we march towards the giants. Twists and turns, new lessons learned as we find out where to go. And we take these winding roads into the great unknown. It won't be easy, there's hills and valleys, cliffs and waterfalls, but they said so beautiful, so we keep on moving forward. And in this moment, it's all clear. I don't have to go, but I can't stay here. Now that I see it, guess I'll be leaving into the wild. It's a jungle up there, but we don't care about the lions. And we march towards the giants into the wild. It's a jungle up there, so we dare to be courageous, even though these roads are dangerous. Though we've never been here before, this adventure is an open door. Tell me what you've been waiting for. Why don't we go into the wild? It's a jungle up there, but we don't care about the lions. And we march towards the giants. So just tell me what to go, take the lead, and I will follow. Even if I leave my comfort zone, even if I'm far from home, where my heart is, but my heart is battling my conscience, and I have conviction to be honest, even if believers don't believe it. And some will call me sinner, some will call me saint, label me whatever. I am doing this for them, so I'm taking my music and I'm taking your name, and I'm reaching the lost in this wilderness. Though we've never been here before, this adventure is an open door. Tell me what you've been waiting for. Into the wild. It's a jungle up there, but we don't care about the lions. We don't care. The giants into the wild. It's a jungle up there, so we dare to be courageous, even though these roads are dangerous. Though we've never been here before, this adventure's an open door. Tell me what you've been waiting for. Why don't we go into the wild? It's a jungle up there, but we don't care. Into the wild.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Spring Folly. Thanks for your patience as we work through these technical difficulties. YouTube's not been very kind to us just recently, but we're doing our best. And I do think we need to give a shout out to the tech team here at Bethel Bible Chapel. Paul and Darren are working hard through this, so thanks, guys. Really appreciate that. That was Manic Drive. For those of you who are disappointed you didn't get to hear the whole interview, I want to let you know that we're going to post that interview to Spring Folly's YouTube page tomorrow. And I'll probably start that going live at about noon. And we will make sure that we send the links through our socials. So check out Spring Folly's Instagram account, Spring Folly's Facebook page, and Spring Folly's YouTube page, obviously our channel. That's where you're going to find it. And so we'll keep making sure that we let people know what's happening. Now, I do want to let you know, we're going to do another contest here. So we are going to give out Manic Drive Into the Wild. We're going to give this CD out to the first person who could message me the part of Spring Folly you were looking forward to the most. The first person who messages me on Instagram the part of Spring Folly that you were looking forward to the most. So let's take a look here. Let's see here. We've got different people who've sent names in. We're going to check and see if anyone has sent us a picture yet from our last contest. Yes, we do. We have a winner. All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Oh, and we've got a winner for this one too. Here we go. Let me see. Who was that? Oh, there we are. Let me see here. Who is that? All right. Here are the winners, ladies and gentlemen, for the last two prizes. We're going to reach into the prize vault. We've got winners. All right. You're all. My phone is erupting right now. It's buzzing in my hand. Here's what we've got. We've got two winners now who have sent me their things. Let's see here. We've got the winner, the person who sent me the picture from Spring Folly last year. They're going to win the Newsboys United CD, and that is Jenna Down. Jenna, you were the first person who sent me a picture from last year. I'm going to mark down your name, that Jenna Down wins that. And the first person who sent me what they were looking forward to the most, the first one that came through, a whole bunch of you sent their message in, but the person who's winning the Into the Wild CD is Ethan Lawrence. Ethan Lawrence is winning that. There we go. Well done, everybody. Well, like I said, we are going to do our best to keep this show going, and we're going to be doing some more interviews. If at any time the sound cuts out, we do want you to know that we may skip to a music video that each of these bands has given us permission to show and share with you. And if we do that, if the videos don't work out, the interviews, we're just gonna blitz right on past them, and we'll upload those to our Spring Folly Facebook page tomorrow. Well, we're going to give away more stuff here as we go. Last year, if you were at Spring Folly, you got to see two great groups or people who were there. Marcel and Scott from the band Sky Terminal put on a great show, and our speaker was Matt from TruthSnack. And we were fortunate enough, we reached out to them, told them what we were doing with Spring Folly Live, and they both graciously agreed to tune in and to join us. And so first we're going to check in with our friends from Sky Terminal, and I do want to say, just before we check in with them, that they have given us permission to show you the world premiere. This is the first time anyone has ever seen it, their brand new video for the song Billion Stars. Marcel worked really hard to get this done. Late last night it came to me. You're the first people who are going to see it. But before that, we're going to check in with our friends from Sky Terminal. And right after that, we're going to check in with Matt from TruthSnack. So let's check in now with Marcel, with Scott from Sky Terminal. Well, hey, Marcel. Hey, Scott. Welcome back to Spring Folly. We are so glad that you were able to join us again.
It's an honor to be here.
It's good.
Yeah, glad to be here with you guys, one way or another.
Yeah, so listen, this is what we're going to do. Like to keep things light, and we're going to play a game of Box of Lies. If you've ever seen The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon has this box of lies where you open the box and inside the box is something, and then you describe it to the other person, and you can tell the truth or you can tell a lie, and the other person tries to figure out and guess whether you're telling the truth or telling a lie. And so we're going to play Box of Lies, and we're going to do it as a texting edition. So what I've done is I have sent, actually not me, I have had my daughter, who has a bit of a twisted sense of humor, text you each a photo. And so imagine that photo is what you have pulled out, and then I'm going to share it on screen with people so that they can see afterwards. So by a very official and random draw, Marcel gets to go first. And so Marcel, you get to describe what was texted you Imagine you've pulled it out of a box, and Scott and I are going to try and figure out whether you're telling the truth or telling lies. Scott, you have an advantage here because you've toured with this guy, so you know him way better than I do.
We spend a lot of time in the van together, so you know this. I do have the advantage here a little bit.
All right. Okay. So I got the picture, and it's definitely a little strange. You're right about that. I'm not sure that I've ever. I didn't realize this existed. So what I have here is a picture of it's half a shark and it's half a horse. So the it's kind of the top half of the shark.
Is that
out of
called
the
a
shark.
hork? Is that what that's called? A hork?
A hork?
Yeah.
A horse, shark, shork. Something.
A short. Maybe it's a short. The mythical short. That's okay.
All right. Could be a shorse as well.
A shorse, yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's what you got?
So it's kind of like in a mid trot, and these on the grass, and I can't see exactly what the background is. Maybe it's trees, maybe it's kind of dark water. I can't really tell.
Whoa. Okay. Okay, if that's not true, he has got a great imagination. I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't know. Scott, you know him better. What are you thinking?
You know, the point that's standing out to me right now is that he said trot. So he looked at that and saw that movement and was like, what's the word for that thing? And came up with trot. So that's like, unless he's had, yeah, you know, he's tricky like this.
Oh man. I'm gonna
Half arms.
so here's the thing. You can say what you want. I'm gonna say he's telling a lie, because Marcel, he's creative, he's the artist, so he's got that creative side. He could come up with, I'm gonna say a lie. That's where I'm going. What are you saying, Scott?
Well, because Marcel could be going either direction here right now. That's the thing. It's like this could go either way, because he could have been like, I'm going to throw this trot curveball in there.
Oh yeah.
Because that's not just a word. Yeah. So just for the sake of the game, I'm going to say he's telling the truth.
All right. Well, here we go. We're going to share the screen, and we're going to see what it is. Let's take a look. Is that your picture, Marcel?
Yeah, that's the picture I got.
All right. There we go. So it's like a dragon with an astronaut riding it. Yeah. There we go.
I thought it was a stormtrooper, but maybe it's an astronaut.
Oh, well, it could be either. Okay. That was seriously impressive, Marcel. I'm like, he didn't even bat an eyelash. Like, he just came out so smooth like that. Okay, Scott, your turn. What's your picture here?
It's my turn.
Yeah, your turn.
Well, I'm gonna just stare at it for a little bit, just so you guys can go, is he doing this to come up with a story, or is he doing this to actually analyze the picture and tell the truth? It's a mystery. What I'm looking at right now is a Play-Doh unicorn, and it's standing on a pie container getting into a fight with a plastic rhinoceros, from what I can tell.
So a unicorn against a rhinoceros.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
Is the unicorn the same size as the rhinoceros?
No, it's completely disproportionate. It's Play-Doh.
Okay. All right, Marcel, you go first. I mean, you've traveled with this guy, so What do you think? Like look at those eyes. Like I can't read them. I can't.
What color is it on a table?
It looks like it's on a table, or it could be like a hardwood floor.
Okay. Is there a wall behind it or anything?
No.
No, just a.
He's
No,
trying to
down.
catch you. He's trying to catch you. I can tell what he's doing.
All right. I'm gonna say he's telling the truth.
Man, that is hard. You know, I've always trusted guys with beards. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a rational thing or not, but I'm going to say truth.
I think I think it's an irrational thing because we're hiding something under here. So
that could be. Okay, here we go. Let's share the screen and we will see what's up. Oh, was that your picture?
that was my picture.
Oh man, Scott, you had us both. Wow, I didn't even know. What's that, like turtles playing Yahtzee? I think is what that picture is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
You see, but he took a detail of the picture, and he weaved that into his lie.
Yeah.
That's cunning right there.
That was good. That was good. Okay, here's mine. My daughter has sent it to me. Okay. So there is a cutting board on a counter, and behind the cutting board is a bowl of salad. And on the cutting board, with scared looks on their faces, are Bob the tomato and Larry the cucumber from VeggieTales.
Oof. That's really creative.
You know what? There's some body language things he did right at the beginning when he initially saw the picture, which when he previously said, you know, my daughter's got a little bit of a twisted sense of humor. He kind of just that was reflected in as soon as he looked at it, you know. And so I'm gonna say I'm saying this is true. He's being honest.
All right, Marcel, what are you saying?
Well, my gut is saying that it's the truth as well. Because I mean, Bob the tomato.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty original in the sense of like this is probably real. Like this, I believe there's a picture out there of that exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We'll share the screen, and then I will share with people. There it is.
Oh yes.
And that is a real cucumber and a real tomato. And
Wow.
I did tell you, my daughter is very creative, but she does have a bit of a twisted sense of humor. So there we are. And
yeah, you know, I gotta give props to your daughter for these. These were some
she did a good job.
pretty good pictures.
By the way, teenagers, if you're horrified now and I've just ruined your childhood because of Bob and Larry, and you'll never eat salad again, I apologize on behalf of Spring Folly and on behalf of my daughter who is giggling in the background right now. So yeah, thanks so much for playing along, guys.
Nicely done.
Well done.
Fun. That was fun. So hey, you guys have been working on a third album now. How is that going? Give us an update.
Yeah, it's a long process. I think part of this album has been redefining our sound, right? And I think, you know, part of me as a creative person always wants to keep on moving forward. And you know, what's the next thing? You know, where do we want to bring our music? You know, into the future, right? And I think, you know, you see a lot of artists that they're kind of playing the same thing that they were playing 10 years ago, and you just get outdated pretty quickly, right? And so, yeah, for us, we've been really taking our time to create and experiment. And, you know, I was just looking at the list of songs that we've written and started recording maybe, and like it's significantly long, right? And so I think when it comes to the creative process, I definitely overanalyze, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, this could be a good song, but I'm not sure it's exactly what I was looking for, so maybe I'll try something new, right? And so sometimes you just gotta finish the song and just, like, you know, put it out there. And you know, I think there's a good quote, you know, good art is never completed. It's, you know, you simply abandoned. You know, some artist gave that quote, and I think, you know, at some point we come up with music and we're like, okay, you know what, it might not be finished, but you know, we're gonna put it out there. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We have the EP out though, so 3 songs that you can get, which is basically a preview of the album, and we have a bunch more songs that are getting pretty close. So it's definitely a process, but I mean, Scott's a creative guy, and it's just really about putting our creativity together and going for it. Have you found this process, Scott?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Marcel and I, we're both rockers at heart. But I don't think either of us, when it comes to our creativity and our output of music.
You to see who'll shine the light. You and me here against the night. Yeah, I'm glowing white. Here am till kingdom come. My heartbeat is now my drum. Yeah, we'll glow in the night. Here we go. Here to live a life standing out from the dark. We'll be lighting up the night for a million years. Here we go, here we are like a billion stars. Here to live a life standing out from the dark. We'll be lighting up the night for a million years. Oh, feel alive. Here we go, here we are like a billion stars. Here to live a life standing out from the dark. We'll be lighting up the night for a million years. Oh, feel alive.
Well, hey, Matt, welcome back to Spring Folly.
Hey, I'm happy to be back again. I didn't think I'd get to come this year, but look at me.
It's a little different,
I'm
isn't
with you
it?
guys. It is different. I'm excited. Honestly, when I saw the promotional stuff going out, I was like, oh man, I don't get to go this year. They didn't invite me back, which is fine. Like, you got to have another speaker every once in a while. And I was like, oh, that was such a good time. And then you reached out to me and I was like, yeah, I'd love to do a video thing.
This is good. Well, we're glad to have you. Here's what we're going to do. I like to start things off just with a little bit of fun. And so you and I know we've both used this illustration before because it's a really good illustration just to see how much people know about what Jesus said. So I'm going to throw you some questions and we're going to play a little game of who said it, Jesus or Oprah. Put you on the hot spot. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
I hope I'm ready.
Because this is going out over, and here's the problem.
Right.
I mean, you're a youth pastor, so like
I know.
I mean, your leadership may watch this. No pressure. Here we
This
go.
could be really bad. Yeah.
All right. First quote: "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you."
So it's just Jesus or Oprah?
Jesus or Oprah?
I'll tell you this. If Oprah did say that, it's because she was quoting Jesus. That's Jesus.
That is absolutely Jesus. You're right. You're right. Okay, here we go. Second one. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more.
Jesus teaches thankfulness. I'm not sure if he ever promises that we'll get more for our thankfulness, but it's a nice principle. But I think that's Oprah.
That is Oprah. Absolutely. Okay, here we go. Shine your light. Let it shine within so that it can shine on someone else.
Okay. Just the language of that is a giveaway. That doesn't sound like the language of Jesus. That sounds like Oprah to me.
That is absolutely Oprah. All right, you're doing well on this. This is good. This is good. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm just going to set this one up by saying this one should be the easiest one, but here we go. Let's see. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
That is Jesus. And I think I know the passage on this one. I think it's John 14:6. So I think I got that one.
You got that one. You nailed it. All right. Here we go. Last quote. There are many paths to what you call God.
Okay, well, other than the fact that it directly contradicts what was just said by Jesus. That's very, so I'm going to say Oprah.
That was absolutely Oprah. Yes, that's her belief. So yeah, you did well on that. That was good. Good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got a few for you actually.
Okay. Turn it back on me now. I'm on the hot spot.
But it's not just Oprah. There are others as well. Okay.
Okay.
So I tried to. This is now. Full disclosure. This is tricky intentionally. So.
Okay.
But here we go. Okay. I think I have 7.
Okay.
My response game is as a. Oh no. Okay. Here's one. Now they're all tricky. The quote is, "Before the throne of the Almighty, man will be judged not by his acts, but by his intentions. For God alone reads our hearts."
That's a good one. That sounds very religious, but I'm going to say it's someone else. It's not Jesus.
You're right. It's not Jesus. And yes, see, intentionally tricky. It sounds kind of Jesus-y and kind of Bible-y, but it's actually Gandhi who said that.
Yeah.
So great. Actually, I don't want. Now I'm nervous for you. Like I don't want to embarrass you. I got all mine. I want you to get all yours too. Okay. Here's one. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword.
Yeah, that one is a tough one. Not because I don't know who said it. That was Jesus who said that, but tough because that's one of the hard sayings of Jesus that you have to wrestle with.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. See, you got it. See, that it doesn't sound like this not caricature. It doesn't sound like this image that we already have built up of Jesus, that he would say something that sounds so difficult. Okay, here's another one. Love your enemies.
Yeah, that is Jesus. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
That's an easy saying to identify. That's a hard saying to put in practice.
Yeah, that was the low ball of this one. Love your enemies. Okay, here's another one. You're doing great. You're doing great. Follow your instincts. That's where true wisdom manifests itself.
Okay, well, I know that's not Jesus. It sounds very Oprah-ish. I'm not sure if it's Oprah, but it sounds like her, but it's not Jesus. I know that.
Well, bonus points for you because it is not Jesus and it is actually Oprah.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure whether it was Oprah or Joel Osteen. I'm not sure which one it was, but I knew it wasn't.
Yeah,
Jesus.
well, I'm like really impressed. Like, not only did you know it wasn't Jesus, you knew who it was. Okay, I think I have a few more.
Okay.
Work out your own salvation. Do not depend on others.
Ooh, okay. Now that sounds a lot like work out your salvation with fear and trembling, but it's not. And so I think it is not Jesus.
It is not Jesus. In fact, that was the Buddha.
There we go.
So good. There you go. Okay. And then the last one is a little bit maybe of a gimme, maybe confusing. I don't know. They're all intentionally kind of confusing. This is it, the last one here. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life.
Yeah, that is Jesus again. Again, one of those hard sayings. Hey, and the thing about that one is it says right after, like almost like the next verse or two afterwards, it says from that time on, many people stopped following him because that was just too hard to take as a teaching. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, great work.
All right. Hey, we both got perfect on it.
Whew, I know. I actually feel like I'm sweating a little bit. I was so nervous. I was nervous for you.
The good news is neither of us will likely be fired now for this anyway. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, a lot can change in a year, Matt. Why don't you catch us up? How's your life changed in the past year, and what's the Lord been teaching you?
Wow. Yeah. Well, the last year I got married, which is exciting.
Congratulations.
I got married. Yeah. I got married to Melody Frost, now Melody Belfay Frost, my wife. And, it's still like new enough that feels weird to say. We got married on New Year's Eve in 2019, just before the year rolled over. So we were married for all of, 5 hours in 2019 before it became 2020. And it was kind of a dream. We just had a wonderful, beautiful wedding, and so that's a huge change in my life. And as I think everyone said, and it is true, when you get married, you just you discover the wonderful things of another human being, and you kind of discover a whole lot of terrible things about yourself as you encounter your selfishness and your like how quickly you can lose your cool and all sorts of things. So I've been like growing on that in that aspect in like a character way. It's been stretching and obviously wonderful. If social distancing goes on much longer, the majority of our marriage will actually be spent here in this apartment, just she and I together. So we are spending a lot of our first year together and learning each other and growing closer together. So it's that's been really good, like learning and growing that way, just in terms of character, iron sharpening iron. But then also just kind of the situation that we've been in with social distancing and our world going through a global pandemic. It's been a character growth thing in a different way, in terms of as a pastor, I teach about trusting God and entrusting your future to him, and trusting the goodness of his heart towards you, and that he has good plans, and what the book of James says, that every good and perfect gift comes from above, that kind of stuff. And honestly, this time has forced me to actually go, do I believe this, and do I want to live in it, or do I just kind of preach it? And so it's been challenging, but it's been kind of, again, I'm studying in the book of James right now, kind of what it says, like trials bring maturity. And this trial has brought about more maturity in me, going, I can't just talk about trusting God and his heart. Now I actually have to do it, because this time is stretching all of us in terms of finances and stress, and even just being at home with our families and things that we love, like spring Folly, getting, moving online. Like it's a very challenging time. And I think the question that it's caused me to ask myself is, am I willing to trust Jesus right now, today? So that's been a real awesome opportunity, actually. And I'm thankful to God that he's growing me through that, which is kind of what the book of James says. It's hard to swallow when he tells you to have joy in trials. But there is joy, and the joy that he's talking about is that God actually has a plan to bring you through this and also to help you grow in it. So there is joy there when you can kind of put on the mind of God for a second and see it through his lens and not just our own. So it's been an eventful year.
That's great. Great. Well, listen, you have a new resource at your YouTube channel called TruthSnack, and it's for youth leaders. And at Spring Folly, we have always tried to give some training or a little something to youth leaders. And I know in the midst of a pandemic now, a lot of youth leaders are scrambling for content and how do we do online stuff. And you've got a great new resource called God and COVID-19. Why don't you tell us about that and how youth leaders can get it?
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you about that. So in case you don't know, I have a YouTube channel called TruthSnack. If you go to youtube.com/TruthSnack, you'll see the videos that I put up there. They are videos, without getting into too much of the backstory, I went through a time in my own life of doubt and not being sure if Jesus was who he said he is or if God really existed. But now I believe those things confidently. And so a lot of my videos work around those tough questions of Christianity and helping people know that Christianity is actually true and why we can know that and how we can live that out with confidence. Now, in the midst of all that, I kind of also wanted to take a pause when this pandemic broke out, because I'm also, like you said, I'm a youth pastor, and I know right now people are just aching for online resources. And I was like, wait a second, youth pastors want online resources. Like I'm a youth pastor and I love creating online resources. This is perfect. And so I ended up creating this series, God and COVID-19, which named it specifically because I think students want us to bravely tackle these tough subjects. I don't think they want us to dance around them. And what the series does is it dives into how it is Christians should be thinking about this situation, but really by looking at the heart of Jesus. And how Jesus interacts with the world of pain. And so it's just a 3-video series. Each video is like less than 5 minutes. It's accompanied with small group questions and a social media package if you want to try to promote it to your students. But it's the kind of thing I designed because it was the kind of thing I would love as a youth pastor to get, little snippet videos that we can watch as a group, and then great discussion questions that we can talk about, which tackle exactly how it is we can walk through this time knowing the heart of God, trusting him, and actually having hope for the future. And so, if you go to TruthSnack or youtube.com/TruthSnack, the first video is there, and there's a link to where you can message me and get the whole package for free in an email. There's no cost. It's really, I just got excited about wanting to help support youth ministers and youth pastors and youth groups to really process the time that we're going through, not because I have the answers, but because I want to process it too. And I thought, hey, why not do it together with a video series? So yeah, that's where they can find that.
Awesome. Well, that is great. Thanks so much, Matt, for doing that and for joining us. And Matt's given us permission to show the first one of those videos. It's called Jesus in a World of Pain. So here it is, Matt from TruthSnack, Jesus in a World of Pain. Thanks, Matt.
My pleasure. Great to hang out with you guys.
The world is changing pretty quickly, and if I'm being honest, I feel like I'm changing pretty quickly too. Like with everything that's going on in the world with COVID-19, I bet some people are being drawn closer to God, but I bet at the same time some people are being driven further away, because it's like, where is God in all of this? Why did he let this happen, and does he even care? The heart of God has something to say to the depression and anxiety and the worry and the panic that we're seeing on the news and on social media, and if we're being honest with ourselves, that we're seeing in our own hearts. I want you to imagine a path. The path symbolizes a journey through a hard time. Walking the path, however hard it becomes, means making it through to the end. But on either side, there's a ditch that we can fall into. On one side is complete despair. On the other is denial. Falling into either ditch will take us off our path. And I don't think that I have to give too many examples of how COVID-19 can bring despair out of us, because we miss our friends and going to school, and we're mourning the lives that we feel like we've lost. But it can also bring denial out of us. when this first started, some reactions were, everything's going to be fine. This isn't the end of the world. This isn't going to affect me. It's tempting to deny the suffering, but people are truly suffering and people are dying. And so I want to see how Jesus responds in the midst of death. The greater context in the book of John is not just that Jesus reflects the heart of God, but that Jesus is literally God in the flesh. So we're going to look to Jesus to try and understand the heart of God. In John chapter 11, Jesus receives a message that one of his best friends, Lazarus, is sick. Now, at this point in history, Jesus is already well known as a healer, but before he can get to his friend, Lazarus dies. Now, it's clear from what Jesus says to his disciples that he actually plans on raising Lazarus from the dead. But what I want us to pay attention to is how Jesus responds to this difficult path that he's about to walk. Since Jesus knows that he's going to raise Lazarus from the dead, despair doesn't really seem like an option. I mean, what is there to worry about? Jesus knows that in just a few moments, everything's going to be fine. But even though Jesus has hope for what's about to happen, what he does next is truly, and I mean truly, remarkable. He doesn't miss that there is deep hurt in the hearts of Lazarus' family. And rather than rushing past it or denying it, the heart of Jesus is revealed, and he hurts with them. Twice in this interaction, Jesus breaks down and weeps over what's happened and what's happening. And so the way Jesus walks his difficult path is maybe different than the way we might have thought initially. There's hope, but there's also hurt. There's hurt and also hope. You see, Jesus shows us that it's okay for our reaction to the world today to be hope and hurt, happening together, happening at the same time. Jesus reveals the heart of God to our current situation. Yes, he has a redemptive plan, but he also isn't denying the hurt that exists in our story the way it is. He has a tender heart that's actually hurting with you as he's journeying with you. My prayer for us, and really myself, is that we'll be able to walk this path that hurts the way Jesus did, with great hope in what's to come.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Spring Folly Live. Thanks so much for tracking with us. We appreciate our friends from Sky Terminal and Matt from TruthSnack coming to see us and checking in with us and supporting Spring Folly. Well, it's time to look in the Spring Folly treasure chest again. We're going to see what types of things we can give away here. I have in the Spring Folly treasure chest 2 Kindle Fire HD 8 tablets. We'll be giving these away at the end of the night. And so these will be given away. I'll tell you how you can get one at the end of the night, but we're going to run some contests right now for some other loot from the treasure chest. Here's what we're going to do. The first, I'm just going to read these out, and we'll see who sends it in first. The first teenager who can message me through Spring Folly's Instagram account a picture of a Spring Folly shirt wins a CD. The first person who can send me a message through Instagram of you in a Spring Folly shirt. So it can be your Spring Folly shirt, can be somebody else's Spring Folly shirt, could even be a picture from the internet of somebody wearing a Spring Folly shirt. So that's what we're going to do. First person who sends a picture of Spring Folly shirt. And while that is going on, some of you are sitting there going bummed out because you don't have a Spring Folly shirt. That's okay. Here's what you can do. The first person who sends me their name and their youth group and their youth leader's name, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you and your youth leader a new Spring Folly shirt. So if you send me through this the name of your youth leader and, oh my goodness, we already are getting stuff here. Let's see. We have a winner on the t-shirt, but let me finish writing what I was just saying what I was just going to say. If you send me the name, your youth group, and your youth leader, we'll make sure that we give you a new Spring Folly shirt. So that's what we're going to do. That's how we're giving that away right now. You got that? So I will say this. We've got a winner here. The person who wins the new CD, it is, let me see, Toby Mac. This is not a test. Hope Brohart sent the picture in first. Hope Brohart sent a picture, and it was a picture of her mom wearing a Spring Folly shirt. So Hope Brohart, you win the CD. Well done. Still waiting for someone to send me a message with your name, your youth leader's name. Oh, my goodness, we're just erupting now. Hang on. Here we go. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from North Bay. We have a winner from North Bay on the t-shirts. We have Colin Drahan and Jared Burks, his youth leader, both winning brand new Spring Folly shirts. And so there were about 3 or 4 of you who got those in like right at the same time. But the first one that came through was Colin Trahan. You win, and Jared Burke, you win a new Spring Folly shirt. We'll make sure we get those to you. All right, we'll do one more contest. Here we go. Really easy one. I'm going to give away Matt's YouTube channel is all about apologetics. I'm going to give out Cold Case Christianity to the first person who can send me a message telling me what Matt's YouTube channel is called. What is Matt's YouTube channel called? Message me through Instagram, and you will win Cold Case Christianity, the book. That's all you have to do in order to win it. Here we go. Let me see. We're taking a look through here. By the way, all you need to do is take a look on the Spring Folly chat, because Matt has been chatting there under that name, and we have a winner. Here we go. Let me just see here. 2 people. My goodness. I just got to get over here. Like 5 people sending stuff in all at the same time. Here we go. The winner of Cold Case Christianity is Jeremy Edgar. Well done, Jeremy. You got Cold Case Christianity. Well done, first person who texted in. That was great. Well, someone had sent me a message earlier saying, I really miss the worship at Spring Folly Live, and we wanted to make sure that was part of Spring Folly Live. And we also wanted to make sure that we had Logan Gates join us as well. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it a little more serious. We're going to have Nick and Reg, who have led worship at Spring Folly for years, lead us in a couple of worship songs. And then we're going to check in with Logan. We invited Logan to come and share a message of hope with us. And so we're going to, first of all, do some worship together. And it might seem weird to you. You can just listen along, or you can sing along. I know that kind of sounds weird, but go ahead and sing along wherever you are to these songs as Nick and Reg lead us in those. And then we'll hear from Logan.
Good evening, Spring Folly 2020. Good to be with you. Missing being with you for real. We're going to sing some songs together. I hope wherever you are, at home, in the car, outside, going for a walk, that you will sing with us, do the actions. Let's let our neighborhoods hear the praises of our glorious God. 1, 2, 3, 4. Speak against my borrowed innocence. The judge is my defense. I'm going free. Right when the gavel fell, I heard the freedom bell ring through the heart of hell. I'm going free. I'm going free. Glory, glory, hallelujah. You threw my shackles in the sea. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Jesus is my liberty. I'm going free. I won't go back again. That's just not who I am. Lord, I'm a brand new man. I'm going free. I'm I'm on a narrow road. It's paved with grace and hope. It's gonna lead me home. I'm going free. I'm going free. Yeah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. You threw my shackles in the sea. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Jesus is my liberty. I'm going free. I am free. I am free indeed. I am free. Free indeed. Here we go. We are free. Free indeed. We are free. Free indeed. Glory, 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 glory. Hallelujah. You threw my shackles in the sea. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Jesus is my liberty. Glory, 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 hallelujah. You threw my shackles in the sea. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Jesus is my liberty. I'm going free. Someday I'll fly away on your amazing grace. Your love is my jailbreak. I'm going free. I'm going free. Excellent. I wish I could hear you guys singing along. But our God can hear our praises wherever we are. And we sing with hope, knowing that the end of this story and this struggle will be made real and will be made perfect when our Lord returns. The last enemy that Jesus Christ destroyed was death, and we worship that reality together. Let's keep singing. Alone in my sorrow and dead in my sin, lost without hope, with no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested and my life begins. Ashes redeemed, only beauty remains. My orphan heart was given a name. My mourning grew quiet, my feet rose to dance. When death was arrested and my life began. It's your grace so free, washing over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom you faithfully bore. You canceled my debt and you called me your friend. Oh, when death was arrested and my life began, it's your grace so free, washing over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your end pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Oh, yes it does. Our Savior displayed on a criminal's cross. Darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. But then Jesus rose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested and my life began. Oh, it's your grace so free, washing over. Your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. It's your grace so free, washing over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you, Jesus. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Oh, thank you, Lord.
Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight, Logan. I wish we could have been face-to-face doing this, but I'm really thankful that we've been able to work something out to have you come to Spring Folly. So welcome to Spring Folly.
Thanks. It's great to be here virtually in my living room, but with you in heart.
Sounds good. Well, I always like to start off light, and normally I would do a little bit more introduction and get to know you on stage at Spring Folly. So we'll do this virtually, and so we're going to play a good old game of Would You Rather. Okay. So I'm going to throw out some things. Would you rather this or that, and you choose, and this will give us a chance to get to know you a little better. Here we go. Would you rather give up breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I definitely have skipped a lot of breakfasts because I sleep in a lot, but I would have my breakfast for lunch. I think that breaks the question, but breakfast is such a good meal that I would rather not lose it. I just would want to have it later. How's that?
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Would you rather live in a cave or a treehouse?
Definitely a treehouse. Caves sound slimy and reminds me of Shelob's lair in Lord of the Rings.
So
Big
true.
Fighters, not a fan. So
Yeah.
I'd say yes.
Good, good. All right. Would you rather be able to fly or be invisible?
I would say fly. I think if I were to want to be invisible, that suddenly sounds creepy. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to fly. I'm just going to say I would like to fly.
Yeah, I mean, in the 1950s, when there was more innocence, maybe the invisible thing would have been cool. But 2021, plus you get places faster, right? Like that's got to be okay. Would you rather have a unibrow or no eyebrows?
I guess a unibrow. I think I would just embrace it. I would grow it out, I would groom it, and it would just be a perpetual conversation starter. It'd be great. I'd make friends. They would laugh at me behind my back. It would be just wonderful.
Well, I have to be honest. Before I thought of this one, I actually had to go and take a look at your picture just to make sure you didn't already have a unibrow, so that it wasn't going to be offensive or anything like that. So if you're a teenager listening and you have a unibrow, I wasn't trying to be offensive. It was just a good question, I thought. That's all it was. So, all right. Would you rather listen to country music or rock music?
The definition of country music, if it's wide enough to include what I know real country music fans don't think is country, then yes. In other words, I'm more of a rock guy. But if country music can get rocky, then I'm a fan.
Sounds good. So, go for it. Go for it. I'm kind of the opinion that I don't think all country music is from the devil, but I'm not sure if he might have. I don't know. I'm not going to be dogmatic about that theology. I just hate country music. Although some friends of mine are really trying to convince me otherwise, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, here we go.
Didn't want to isolate too much. Yeah.
I like that. The way you play both sides there. That was good. Would you rather eat your favorite meal for every meal for the rest of your life, or never eat your favorite meal again?
Yeah. I just think how could you want to ruin your favorite meal and never eat anything else? I'm sad to say, I think I want to say I'd eat my favorite meal, but I would have to say no. And then at least I'd have a good memory of it. Like I wouldn't ruin the memory of that great meal. But that's a hard one. That's a hard one to answer.
That's a hard one. I think I'm with you on that one for exactly the same reason. I think so. Yeah. Would you rather live in perpetual summer or perpetual winter?
I know you guys I'm in Toronto here, but it's cold here too. We had snow today. I would love to be in perpetual summer. I don't know why Canada's not summer all year. I guess I do know why, but I would rather not it be. Yeah.
Yep. Would you rather vacation with your wife in Australia or vacation with your wife in the Caribbean?
I think Caribbean, just because, again, with the spider thing, with the cave, Australia has like big, deadly stuff. Spiders, snakes, koala bears.
Kangaroo.
Kangaroo.
Deadly.
Actually, they can kick you and like kill you. I've heard it's a thing. So yeah.
Play it safe. I like that. Would you rather be a master of every musical instrument or fluent in every known language?
I think I would say fluent in the languages. I think you speak a language, you're able to connect with someone. And it'd be cool to speak like some random language that no one else speaks, like North Icelandic, and you meet like some guy and he like, no one speaks his language but you do. And I just feel you could connect, and I would love that.
No, that's a good one. That was a tough one too for me because I love music, love playing guitar, but I'm thinking, man, both are so enticing, so enticing. Well, we are living in really interesting times right now. And I mean, for those people who are following this on the news, it's a scary time. I mean, we're seeing the numbers of people projected in staggering figures. We're seeing people who are becoming sick, people who are dying from this COVID-19 coronavirus. Its impact is even beyond the health. I mean, there are people, I'm quite sure there are teens who are watching tonight whose parents have been laid off, for whom money is tight now. And so this is a fairly significant thing that we're going through. And I know that there's a lot of worry and a lot of concern. And well, there's some tough questions for us as Christians that people are asking. And so I thought we'd just start off with just throwing a tough one at you and get your perspective on this. How can someone believe in God with all this pain and suffering around us in the world right now? There's always been pain and suffering, but it seems right now that it's at the forefront. It's maybe more magnified than at any time in recent memory.
Yeah. Such a valid question. And actually, I'm comforted that this kind of question gets raised a lot. Actually, even in the Bible, I think I'm touched that a lot of the Psalms that David writes, we see even in Job, a guy who loses his family, loses a lot, that they raise these questions. And I think I like that it's in the Bible because I feel God gives us permission to wrestle with what we actually believe in light of what we're going through. I think I'm moved by particularly the stories of people whose loved ones are in the hospital and they can't even visit them. I think that people are dying alone. I think that's brutal, and I think I'm particularly moved by that. And so I think the question is fair. I think that there are a lot of ways that people have answered this question over the years. And there are a lot of different answers people give about maybe God lets this thing happen for this reason or that reason. Those answers can be helpful to an extent. But I think what's been most helpful to me is actually to focus on the question itself. The question is asking, why does so much evil happen in the world? And why would a God allow that? But that question assumes that evil is something real. It assumes that actually people dying on their own, that's not how the world should be. That's actually something worth complaining about, worth raising the question about. And maybe we look at that and we're like, duh, that's kind of obvious. What does that mean? But actually, when you take a step back and you look at, let's set aside just Christianity for a moment. Let's just say, who knows what, let's say we don't know what to believe at all. What would atheism say about the suffering in the world? And what atheism would say, quite frankly, is, this world comes from nothingness. It exists completely by chance. The way that, animal life has evolved is that death is at the center of everything. So there's a sense in which you being worried about people dying on their own, or the fact that people are suffering, for atheism, that's just not even a question. That's just actually the way the world is. And yet, of course, when we hear that, something in us just cries out, and we're like, no, that can't be right. This is not the way the world should be. And I think that is something that I feel we can hold on to in this time and ask, why is it that we feel so deeply that the suffering that we see is so normal in the natural world is actually something that we feel so deeply is not right? And actually, this is where I find faith has to come into the picture. Because the only way that I can say something is genuinely wrong is if there is something that is genuinely right. If there is actually something beyond the material world that's a standard of goodness, that's a standard of justice and rightness that actually I'm using now to evaluate that this given thing is wrong. And Ravi Zacharias likes to say, you cannot get a moral law. That is, you cannot get this idea that there are good things and bad things without a moral law giver. See, in the Christian understanding, the reason why we can say that evil and suffering are wrong is because we have a conception that right and goodness are something true, and they exist in the very person of God himself. And we see this so clearly in the person of Jesus, right? Like, people, can launch criticisms about Christianity, and there's a lot of failures of the church across the years, and all of that criticism often it's valid, but I don't know anyone who really takes issue with Jesus. People love Jesus, no matter what they believe. And that's because they see in Jesus this person who was genuinely humble, who genuinely loved others, who genuinely loved people who even were his enemies. And the Christian looks at that and says, that is the essence of what goodness is. That is the essence of who God is. We see it in a person. But that means because we see it in a person, we can know there is something good, a standard off of which we can judge and say that the evil in the world really is evil. So where does that take us? I think it takes us at least to say, look, the suffering in the world, it is something that is worth raising the question about. I can only do that from a position of saying there is a God. There is such a thing as goodness. We see that in Jesus. But I think that the next step needs to be, okay, that maybe dodges a bullet for us. Hypothetically, Christianity could work with this because it does allow us to speak of good and evil. But what of the why question? And this is where I find it interesting that actually, in past times of pandemics and plagues and a lot of disease, actually this has been a time when Christianity has grown. And I just find that interesting that we think of this question sometimes as something that disproves Christianity. There's evil and suffering. How could a good God exist? But actually, there's a guy named Rodney Stark, who's a historian. He's a professor at a university down in Texas. And he wasn't a Christian, and he was doing research on what made Christianity grow. And he was looking at these plagues in like the 1st and 2nd centuries. These were plagues that wiped out like a third of a city. Tons of people were dying. And what he found was growing the church was that a lot of people were going to paganism, which was the religion of the day, And they were asking the questions to the pagan priests, like, why is this happening to us? Why are people suffering like this? And the pagan priests really couldn't say anything. They were saying, I don't know. Maybe you need to go sacrifice some bulls. Maybe you need to go burn your crops down as a sacrifice you're making to this god or that god. And people just got disillusioned with it. They just felt there were no answers. Kind of like how I'm saying atheism, I think, struggles to even raise the question. I think the question is, does what you believe give you answers? And I think people came to the Christian faith at that time because they saw, here is a story, a framework in which I can understand the suffering in my world. The world was created good. God made it in harmony with itself, with human beings in harmony with each other, humans in harmony with God. Then something happens, long ago. And you know the story in the garden, right? Adam and Eve disobey God, and this rupture happens. There's distance between Adam and Eve, between men and women, human beings in general. There's distance between us and God. But then there's also this brokenness that reaches into the natural world. Thorns begin to grow. It's painful to have children. Mortality, death enters into the world. And all of that just gives a framework to make sense of, this is how the way we live in this world is not in the world as it was meant to be. But the Christian faith goes on, of course, to say that that's not the final word, that there is hope we can have. One day the world will be restored. So I think what I offer, Brian, to that deep, meaningful question is just a question of, we all wrestle with this question of suffering, but how does what we believe make sense of it? And I'm convinced that the Christian faith is the only religion out there, including atheism, that actually makes sense of the evil in the world, that calls it evil, but actually does give us a hope, an understanding for the moment, but a hope for a restored world to come and God's presence with us in the meantime. I hope that's helpful on that question, at least as a start.
No, I think that's a great way to start and to get us thinking of this particular issue. One of the things that I know maybe some teens are wondering is, look, why would God even make a world where there are these kinds of viruses that can occur and can infect people? Like, how would you respond to something like that?
Yeah, well, I have a friend of mine who actually did her PhD research on viruses. And nowadays we think of that and we're like, wow, that's really cool and interesting and relevant. But when I first met this person, I was like, that's kind of interesting. How did you choose that? Her name is actually AJ Roberts, and she is a speaker and has written a lot about viruses, thinking about viruses as a Christian. And one thing that she points out is that actually there are millions of kinds of viruses out there. And actually the vast, vast majority of them are hugely important for for nature to work, for ecosystems to be sustained, even for the human body to work. And there's actually only some 20 or so out of the millions that actually are the harmful ones that we all know of, Ebola, this virus and SARS and that kind of thing. And I think that tells me, that speaks a bit again to how the Christian faith frames the problem of evil and suffering in general, that this world was created right. It's been intricately designed by God, including at this microscopic level, dealing with something like a virus, but also that this world is broken. And I think that we see the brokenness of the world, the thorns, if you will, in the fact that some of these viruses, which were initially meant for good, actually now in some cases have the potential to be destructive. So I find that actually the existence of viruses only confirms what I feel is good about the world, but also what I realize so deeply is broken and harmful and wrong about it.
No, that's good. And part of the reason I wanted to chat with you about the slogan was because I'm trying to put words to some of the questions that teenagers might be wrestling with as we see what's going on around us, as we're kind of trapped in our homes. And so some might even be wondering if this COVID-19 coronavirus is this God's judgment on us? Is this his punishment for how wicked we have become as a society? I mean, that's a dicey question. How do you respond to something like that?
Yeah, I think this is actually where, in some of these questions, it's sort of hard to know how do you answer that. I think actually on this question, in terms of the Christian perspective, I think we can have a pretty clear answer. There was a scene in the life of Jesus. It's in the Gospel of Luke. where there's this tower that had fallen and killed a bunch of people in the city in Jerusalem. And Jesus is referring to this situation, and it's clear that some people thought that this was punishment against those people. You know, like if you get hit by a building, you must have done something wrong, right? Like that's what people were thinking. And I think that is how even a lot of religions interpret suffering in the world. You know, the idea of karma, for instance, that is the idea that actually if you're suffering, either something you did or something you did in a previous life is just coming back to bite you. And that's actually, I find quite, if I'm honest, quite a crushing way to view your suffering, because that's just sort of pinning it all entirely on you. But actually, if you look at the way Jesus responds, he asserts that actually it was not their fault. He asked the question, do you think that they were worse offenders than all the others who lived in Jerusalem? No, I tell you. Jesus is affirming, actually, because of the brokenness of this world, like, we will suffer, and that's not always going to be because we have done something wrong. Some kinds of suffering, of course, you know, if you go out and, you know, drink a lot of alcohol and like do stuff you regret, like to some extent our suffering, you know, can be self-caused, and there's forgiveness and grace for that in the Christian faith. But not all suffering fits into that category. But you know what's interesting about the situation, the tower falling on people, is that Jesus actually says something more. He says, but I tell you, unless you repent, you all will likewise perish. Now that sounds kind of like, well, all serious and deep all of a sudden, but I think that Jesus is making the point that actually, while the suffering we experience in this life, we aren't meant to look at it as punishment from God. There will be a time that comes when we will be held accountable for our actions. You know, that's what the idea is behind the tower falling on people. That's what, in some sense, is right about what people are asking, is that the way we live kind of matters, doesn't it? And Jesus is saying it does matter. It's not going to lead to something bad happening to you, you know, by and large. But do know that the way we live, we'll have to be held accountable for that to God. And that is a fearful thing. And that there is a perishing Jesus speaks of, that if we really were to be held accountable to how we live, we would all be in danger of facing. And that's a sobering thought. Of course, we need to bear in mind that the Christian message is that we need not face that perishing without an advocate, without someone who can apply his perfect life to us so that we can not bear the consequences really of how we live. That's the message of the Gospels, that Jesus has laid down his life for us. He faced the perishing so that we would never have to. But Jesus is saying that doesn't come automatically. He's saying here, unless you repent, that is, unless you recognize your need for a Savior, unless you turn and give your life to Christ, then there is a real danger that we all are facing. But Jesus would not have us face that. And he has moved heaven and earth to come and to give us the chance to be rescued from it. So in short, I would say, I don't think it's a Christian response to say this is God's punishment. I do think that the suffering we experience in life gets us asking deeper questions about the nature of reality and of suffering. And it makes us sober to think about, what is my life all about? You know, that's what happens when your life falls apart, is it gets you asking these deeper questions. I think Jesus wants us to use that kind of experience to get us asking about, where is real hope to be found, and is suffering the final answer? And I don't think it is.
Well, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You know, most of the teens who are watching this have been cooped up in their house now for the last, for more than a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a young guy in my youth group celebrated his birthday this week, alone in his house, right? And so for people who now have a lot of time on their hands, I mean, we're still doing some schoolwork, I guess, some of the teenagers, but what advice would you give to teenagers, to young people, in terms of how to cope, first of all, with this cabin fever, and maybe how you would encourage them to make the most of their time, to redeem their time that they have, and maybe, you know, for those of us who are kind of in that, oh my goodness, why is this happening, shifting the mentality a little bit and seeing the opportunities that we have. What practical advice can you give?
Yeah. I mean, I think the question in my mind is, you know, what's going to get us through? What's going to get you through? What's going to get me through? And this is where I think bringing in hope into the conversation is so helpful. I mean, I think what we're seeing with this crisis is a lot of what we've put our hope in is just falling out from under us. You see people, we put hope in our physical health, but that's something we can bank on. But this is showing that's not necessarily the case. We put hope in the stability of our family, but even that's been put into question. Financial stability, the hope we put in, even, just to like have relationships with our friends and see them and have that be a life-giving part of our day. I think a lot of these things that we've put our hope in now, we're realizing that actually we need something more sustainable. And I think, honestly, this plays into how I feel I wrestle with my time, because when I spend all this time on social media or reading the news, I just find that on its own, that can be just deeply depressing. Not that it's like a bad thing to follow the news or to spend time on social media, but I think I realize that it's easy for my hope to be placed in one of those things, to have it be placed in, just feeling like I have socially made it. But then I'm looking at all the other friends doing stuff that I feel I'm kind of left out of. I felt that way before. Now I feel that way even more now that this virus is happening. Maybe you're at home alone with your parents, and that's tough, and you're feeling left out. Like, I think that I just would think about the way we spend our time reveals what we are placing our hope in. I think when we find ourselves just all day in social media, I think that's saying something about where we're really trusting for our sense of security and peace to come from. And I think a lot of us are finding it's just not coming, especially in this season. I think likewise, watching the news, I think there's a kind of hope behind that. That's like, my hope is just that the world's going to pick up from this tomorrow. And I think we're just continually let down and discouraged. And it's just soul crushing to be like spending time on these things that are not bad things in themselves, but when we make them ultimate things, when we place our hope in them, it's just crushing. So I would ask the question, what is going to get you through this? Where is your hope placed? Where do you go for a source of peace and meaningfulness that actually can deliver on it? And this is where I think I'd say you got to bring God into that equation. I think when you leave it just at the things that we've normally taken for granted, these things are being, they're falling out of our lives. I think I would just ask, are you tapped into a source of real hope in your life? If you're a Christian, are you spending time opening up the Bible and just letting God reassure you? There's a guy named Augustine. He was an early church father, a few hundred years after Jesus lived, and someone once wrote him a letter to ask him, how can I become a better person at praying? That was what the letter was about. And Augustine wrote back and he said, the first thing to becoming a better prayer is to realize that you are desolate to the world. Now that's kind of a downer, but his point was, look, it's only when you realize how little that you have and how vulnerable you are and how your life's falling apart that you can actually come to God in a way that he is actually able to give you hope and give you his presence and give you a meaningfulness. And I just wonder, if you haven't picked up your Bible and you're a Christian and it's been, 2 months, and yet you feel your life's just grinding and it's so hard, I would say, reach for that Bible again. Open up to the Gospels, the biographies about Jesus, and let God speak to the brokenness that you have. I would just say, think about what you're placing your hope in. Are you spending time in a way that actually is going to build you up? I would invite you to open up God's word, but this time maybe it's something you haven't done before, but this time open it not just as a thing to learn about or something that you're intellectually interested in, but as something that God is actually wanting you to put your heart in so that he can speak to you and encourage you. And along those lines, I think I would say the next step would be to ask God, what would you have me do in this time? And this is where I think a lot of us are wrestling with things, some of us more than others. But I would encourage you to ask the question, who has God put in my life who is also suffering? What friends do I have who I know are also feeling isolated or discouraged, or family members who I know are feeling so low or are so stressed? And I think I would ask, who is God maybe encouraging me to be present to, even if just virtually? Just that reaching out periodically for a phone conversation, a Skype call, a Zoom call. How are you doing? Just to follow up with those kind of people. I find that actually, I often think that will be draining and that won't help at all. But I think that actually, Jesus says, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And I think we see that when we pour ourselves out for people who are also hurting in this time. So I would just think about, what are you placing your hope in? Have you come to God with your stress and anxiety and despair? Have you let him speak to you? And have you let him give you life-giving things for you to pour yourself into? Whether that's pouring into people who are hurting, or it might just be using your time well for the kind of things that he does have on your plate for the season. Pressing into school, even though that's tough. Using this time, to invest in a project that you've been wanting to do, that you just haven't had the time or energy to get yourself up to do, to think about, God, would you have me use this time to do something that you've had on my heart for a while, but now maybe is the time that you would have this come to actually be. I don't know if that's helpful, Brian, or you guys who are watching this, but I just would hope that you can find a real hope in this time and think about what's going to give you that. How are you going to get through this? And I think you can.
And as you were talking, I was thinking, it's interesting. There's this paradox. I mean, there's lots of paradoxes in the Christian faith, but I find so often in situations like this, we get our focus on ourselves and I can't have this and I don't do that, and when we kind of shift that focus and start going, God, how can I serve you? How can I serve others? Which really are the greatest and second greatest commandment that Jesus said. The focus comes off us, but as you mentioned, something happens to us in the process too, that changes us and makes it more fulfilling and brings that joy and that relationship with Christ actually becomes real to us as we serve him and get to know him. So I think those were good ideas that you had there. Listen, you mentioned hope, and lots of people around us are searching for hope, trying to find hope in something. And Christianity talks a lot about hope, and some people kind of view it as that, pie in the sky and the great hereafter kind of hope only, but what tangible hope does Christianity give someone's life?
That's really good, Brian. That's the right question to ask. It's one thing to have this idea, okay, Christianity has this idea of hope. Yeah, I guess I believe in that if you're a Christian, but is that actually meant to make a difference in your life? There's a story that's told about two guys who are working in a factory doing a really boring job. They're screwing lids on toothpaste tubes. And one guy is paid nothing to do that, 10 cents an hour. And the other guy is paid $10,000 an hour. And they both don't know how much they're getting paid. And they're just doing their job one day. And one the guy who's making a ton of money, it's man, this is just awesome. I get to get up and just get some exercise for my arms and, just screwing these lids on. This is just the life, isn't it? And he turns to the guy next to him, and the guy's just in despair. He's like, what is my life? How did it come to this, But the difference is this. If you have a hope, the guy with the toothpaste, $10,000 toothpaste tubes, he's got hope that one day it's all gonna be worth it, And the guy who doesn't have that hope, it's the pits. I think that's what that says, is that actually what you think about the future tangibly impacts the way you understand the present. If you have a real hope for the future, and that's something is coming to you, and you latch onto that, and it's part of your mind and thinking, that does impact the way you see the present, even when it's hard. So one story from the Bible that I found really encouraging, a colleague of mine pointed out to me how this story has so much richness for what we're going through now. It's actually in the Gospel of Mark. Again, one of these biographies written about Jesus by eyewitnesses who lived with him. And they tell the story of when Jesus and the disciples crossed the lake, the Sea of Galilee, to go to the other side. And in the middle of the sea, they have a storm. And so this gives perspective on the kind of storms that we go through. What does it look like when Jesus goes through a storm? What's in that for us? What's tangible about this hope that becomes our own? So I'm just going to read this for you. It's from Mark chapter 4, starting at verse 35. It's just a few verses here. On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go across to the other side of the lake." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But Jesus was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind. And he said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" This is a story about something that actually happened in a real place at a real time in history. But I think it has meaning for us today. I think there's just a few things I'm just going to draw out quickly from this. I think one, we see that when it comes to the Christian perspective of what a storm is like, the Christian faith takes our storms seriously. Again, like we were looking at with atheism. Atheism has trouble even saying that your storm, whatever it is you're going through, whether it's something you're just been so in the dumps emotionally in this time, or whether it's that, stuff is happening in your family, your parents are going through stuff that is just hard. Maybe you do have loved ones who are in the hospital, who are hurting, who are vulnerable. I don't know what storm you're facing, but this passage shows us that Jesus takes our storms seriously. He engages with our suffering. This isn't a Jesus who gets up and is like, "This is just the way the world works. Let me just tell you, this world is built on meaninglessness, and this is part of the meaningless." No, of course, that would be just soul crushing, but that's not what Jesus says. He engages with our suffering. And actually, if you know a bit more of the story of Jesus' life, you'll know there was that time when one of his good friends, Lazarus, died, and he went to the tomb. And even though Jesus was about to raise him from the dead, he gets to the tomb and he sees Lazarus' sisters weeping over him. And Jesus weeps. He weeps. And I just think that says Jesus doesn't just care about our storms. He weeps at them. Whatever you're going through, Jesus, he weeps at the pain that you're wrestling with. He takes it seriously. But I think we don't just see that Jesus weeps at our storms. We also see that Jesus is present with us in them. I mean, think about it. Jesus is in the boat. The disciples are going through a storm, but Jesus is too. And it's only the Christian faith that can make that claim. Only the Christian faith has this understanding that God entered into the world, into suffering, and suffered alongside us. And what that means is, it brings, let me tell you, I have a friend of mine who went through hard stretch. She actually had a sibling pass away suddenly in a car accident. And she said to me afterwards, one of the hardest things about this time is that I just feel so alone, not just because I miss my sibling, but also because I just feel no one understands the kind of pain that I'm going through. People offer their well wishes. That's nice. I know they care about me, but I just feel so alone. And I think that speaks to something deep in us. Oftentimes when we suffer, we don't even it's not like we just want the intellectual answer to why we're suffering. I think that actually what we're creating for is to not be alone in what we're going through. And my friend said, the people who have gone through something like this, they have been the greatest encouragements to me. And the Christian faith says that's the kind of God you can run to in Jesus. I mean, you could think about even just the suffering he went through on the cross. Jesus knows physical pain on the cross. He has thorns that are pressed into his head. He knows what it's like to bleed uncontrollably, to suffer, to have trouble breathing. Jesus knows what that's like. We know that Jesus on the cross suffers emotionally. We saw, actually just in the night before in the Garden of Gethsemane, he is sweating blood. Jesus knows what extreme anxiety looks like. He's been there. He knows it. You're not alone if that's what you wrestle with. Jesus knows what relational suffering is. He's betrayed by his best friends. He knows what it's like to be abandoned by other people. Jesus knows that feeling. And what that means is whatever category your suffering fits into, Jesus has suffered and knows that suffering to an even greater extent. He knows what you're going through. You are not alone. He's in the boat. And of course, Jesus also suffers in a way that we will never be able to fathom. He suffers spiritually. He suffers this separation from God as he takes on himself your sins and my sins, the consequences that we deserved for the ways we turned our backs on God. Jesus says, I'll take that. He takes it on the cross. He suffers for us. And he dies, and he's separated from God eternally for that moment before he's raised from the dead. But that just means that God has done that so that you and I would never have to be separated from him, at least that we would have the chance to say yes to the invitation. So I would say here we just see quickly, Jesus takes your storm seriously. We see that he's with you in it. But we also see that Jesus is in control. What I mean by that is just if we look at the verbs that are used to describe, once Jesus wakes up, it's like he wakes up, he rebukes the sea, he says, be still, it's still, and like it's calm. And you just get this like boom, 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 like superhero action, like Jesus like moving in on this scene. And I think that's just showing us that actually, however much we feel our storm is just chaos and there's whatever's going on is just totally out of control, that God is actually in control. This same friend of mine who went through all that stuff that I mentioned, losing a sibling, she used to say this kind of stuff, that God is in control. And I always felt a little weird about that. I was like, doesn't that kind of sound like you're saying that God like does morally bad things? And that can't be right. And she was quick to say, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, God is perfect and good, and he does not do morally bad things. But she said this, I just feel that my life is falling apart right now. The only thing that's holding me steady is to know that this isn't all just chaos and randomness. There is a God who's in control. He loves me, and everything that's happening to me, I know, has only come but by the permission of his sovereign, loving hand. And I just had never heard that perspective before, that actually believing that God is in control, like he is here. I mean, Jesus is powerful over the storm. He rises from the dead. He's powerful over death. He could have calmed the storm earlier, but that means just that he is in control. And that means that he has a purpose. If this is happening to you, that means that God must be doing something. And the hard thing is we won't always know what that is. In this, we don't even really know why the storm happens in this passage. I mean, what we're left with at least is that God used this storm for these disciples to give them a deeper vision of who Jesus is. And that is something that God often does in our storms, is he will use that to give us a deeper sense of actually who God is, his love for us, his presence with us. Paul says that God works all things together for good for those who love him. Now, I just can hear, maybe you're saying like, I don't understand how what's going on in my life could be something that God is working for good. And I think that's a fair question to ask. And I think it's actually the kind of question the Bible speaks right to the heart of. Because that kind of question, how could God be doing something good and what's going on in my life, speaks to God's character. Is God trustworthy? Is he actually loving? Can I really know that? A colleague of mine likes to say, when you're pushed to your limits, the real you comes out. And I know, when I'm pushed to my limits, when I'm stressed, when I'm tired, when I'm angry, what comes out of me is not that pretty. But that saying would say, that person who I am at my worst, that's the person who I really am. But when we apply all that to God, when we see God pushed to his limits, nowhere would that be more clear than on the cross. But what comes out of God on the cross is absolute pure love. Jesus asked the Father to forgive those who are putting him to death. And all that means to me is that whatever is going on in our life, however hard it might be to fathom how God could be loving in this moment to me, if God was loving on the cross then, I can know he is loving in whatever's going on in my storm now. You can know that because when you're pushed to your limits, the real you comes out. And we saw something of the real God when he was on the cross on your behalf and on my behalf. He was there for us, loving us then. I don't know what why he's allowed this storm for you, but this passage tells us that God has a purpose in this and that he is able to be present with you in it. He takes your storm seriously. He weeps over it, but he also is able to meet you in it with a new vision of himself, but also to work something out of it, something of good. But lastly, we'll just see that, we might just still ask, why doesn't he calm my storm right now if he does that kind of thing here? And I think the Christian faith, we must recall, assures us that one day he will. One day every storm will be calmed. And one day every tear will be wiped away. And the world will be made right in a way that it is not now. And, C.S. Lewis used to say, people accuse Christianity as being pie in the sky hope. But the question is still, is there a pie in the sky or not? And the Christian faith actually says that hope you can know is real because actually it's grounded in history. When Jesus rose from the dead, that overturned the power of death and set in motion the new hope, the new kingdom that's advancing into our world. It's not here yet, but that day is coming. But in the meantime, whether the storm stops or not, I think these truths from this passage, that God takes our suffering seriously, that he is present with us in it, that he is in control, even when we feel everything's out of control, and that he's working for good, even in the midst of this pain. All of that, I think, can give you a real peace in your heart, even if the storm is outside. And I just think that's what the Bible says is peace that passes understanding, peace that doesn't make sense to the world. Because the world will say, how can you have that going on in your life and you still have peace? And the Bible says, if you know that this is true, and if Jesus is in your boat, you can have that peace. But one last thing I'll mention, last thing I promise, is just this, that did you notice that Mark, the author here, points out a little funny detail, that actually there were other boats with the boat that Jesus was in? And one, that's just showing that this is eyewitness testimony, because that's kind of a random detail that you wouldn't include unless, when you start telling a story, you include random details. There's other boats there. But there's something deeper in that for us. What that's saying is that it is possible to go through a storm. These other boats went through the same storm. It is possible to go through a storm without Jesus in your boat. And that, I think, is a dark place to be. That's that place of being alone. That's the place, I think, without having that ultimate hope. And so I understand there'll be some of you guys here who are Christians. I hope there are many who aren't right now. But what I would encourage you to do, regardless of where you are tonight, is to think about, is Jesus in my boat? Do I have a hope that can get me through this? And actually, there's a story that shows how that can happen, how Jesus can step into your boat. How do I know that that's happened? Peter, who's actually at the heart of this story right now, he's on the boat, and this account is based on his testimony. Jesus actually stepped literally into his boat not long before this scene. And it was when Jesus had stepped in his boat, and Peter's a fisherman. Jesus asked, let's go fishing. Jesus miraculously provides this enormous catch of fish. And Peter, I guess realizing who Jesus is, when he sees the fish, he just drops to his knees and he says, depart from me, for I am a sinful man. Peter feels that Jesus has got the wrong guy. But Jesus shows him he has not, and he invites Peter to follow him. And I just think we get there in that little picture, what it's like to invite Jesus in your boat so that you don't go through your storm alone. It looks like one, like Peter, looking at Jesus' love for you. For Peter, it was a pile of fish on the deck. For us, we have so much more, that our God entered into suffering. We normally want to run away from suffering. God runs into suffering for your behalf and mine. He takes our place on the cross that we can have the chance to be forgiven when we trust in him. We need to look at the love that he has for us and believe it when Jesus tells us, I don't have the wrong person. I have come for you. I want to be with you. But the next thing we see Peter doing, right, is his awareness that in light of how loving this God is, that Peter is not worthy of that love. And neither are we. Inviting Jesus into your boat involves looking at yourself and realizing that you are not worthy. We are not worthy of the kind of loving, holy, just God that Jesus shows us is real and exists and is interested in us. But once we do those things, once we see the love he has for us, once we come to the awareness that we are not holy, and we admit that to God, we see then we are able to receive the invitation from Jesus to follow him. And what's sweet about following someone is you're with them. And that's that promise that no matter what happens in this time for you, if you are following Jesus, he will carry you through. He will. There is hope. There's hope that you're not alone. There's hope that God's going to work through this and he's going to bring you through. But I just might ask, how are you doing in this time? Is Jesus in your boat? Are you following him? Are you walking with him? When you follow someone, everything is directed towards that direction. Your eyes, your arms, your legs, everything is moving in that way. Have you submitted yourself wholly to following this Jesus who loves you and who will never leave you? I think that that's where hope is to be found. Where are you trusting in? Is Jesus in your boat? I think that he can be.
I think those are good words, Logan. Thanks so much. And to the teens who are watching, I know I've already been in touch with many youth leaders, and they've been putting this out going, hey, we're not going to run anything online this week. We're going to watch Spring Folly. So I know that there are teens who are watching maybe at home, but they're part of larger youth groups. And so to you, I would just say, if Jesus isn't in your boat, and this is something you're thinking about, reach out to your youth leader, reach out to your pastor. If your parents follow Jesus, talk to them. Talk to someone who you know is a follower of Jesus and just exudes that kind of hope that Logan's been talking about, and ask them those questions, because it is the greatest decision you will ever make. probably the hardest decision you will ever make, especially when it comes to living out faith. But it is the best decision that you can make, and hope is something that you can know. Logan, thanks so much for joining us at Spring Folly. I am sure that we will be able to do this one day live. That is my hope. But for now, I appreciate the fact that you were willing to come on. So thanks so much for joining us at Spring Folly Live.
You're welcome. It's an honor. I wish that I could be there in person. I hope that day will come again. I'll see you guys. See you guys next time.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Logan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us here. Isn't that a great word from Logan? We appreciate his ministry so much. And we are going to kind of finish off the evening with one more interview. But before then, we want to give away some more stuff. So let's open the Spring Folly treasure chest again. And we're going to give out some more items here. First one. This is going to be a book. We have Ravi Zacharias' new book, Jesus Among Secular Gods. We're going to give it out to the person who sends me a message through the Spring Folly Instagram account telling me the other conference in Sault Ste. Marie that Logan has spoken at. Hint, it's in the fall. I'm really passionate about it, and he's been here twice. The last 2 falls, Logan has been here. Some of you have seen him and heard him at that conference. What is the name of that conference? First person who sends me that name is going to win this book from Ravi Zacharias. And so send that through to me on the Spring Folly Instagram account. We're going to give that away. We're also going to give away a couple of other things here. I've got another book we're going to give away. We're going to give a, oh my goodness, we have a winner. Oh my goodness, my phone is erupting, but we do have a winner, and that winner is Zachary Windle. Zach Windle wins the book, Jesus Among Secular Gods. If you want to check my phone afterwards because you think I'm playing favorites, you can. All right, well done, Zach. We'll send that to you. Okay, we got another contest here, so don't, it's okay. We got the answer now. I know you're still sending it in. That's okay. Here we go. We'll give away another book here. This is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And I'm going to give this book away to someone who can text me the words of a Bible verse. Now, not any Bible verse. Hang on just a second here. This is going to be this Bible verse. I like to think of 1 Corinthians 1:25 as an unofficial theme verse of Spring Folly. 1 Corinthians 1:25. So the first person who can send me 1 Corinthians 1:25 by Instagram is going to win a prize. Now, this is kind of like one of those old Bible drills we used to have, sword drills, but this is in the technological age. So this is the first person who sends me the words. So probably on your phone, you're either opening your Bible and typing them out, or you're copying and pasting from your Bible app. There's a hint for you. And then you can send it to me. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 25. That's the one that we are doing here. Here we go. Let's see. I can see people are typing. I can see people are sending in stuff. The first person who sends me the text of 1 Corinthians 1:25, I'm going to read it for you. This isn't the official theme verse of Spring Folly. It's the unofficial theme verse of Spring Folly. But I think it's a good one. Here we go. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. He has won it. We've got it here. Hang on. I was giving Ben some grief on the comment section earlier, but he came through when it counted. Ben Nadon, here we go. He got it in. So Ben, you win Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Well done. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. I kind of think of it as the unofficial theme verse of Spring Folly. What we do at Spring Folly, a lot of people think is just foolishness, at least from the world's perspective. Why would you get together and listen to some guy speak all weekend? Why would you listen to that kind of music? People don't get it. But they don't get it and they think it's foolishness but the foolishness of God, we're reminded, is wiser than the human wisdom. And so, Ben, well done. You won yourself a book. All right, we're going to give away something else here. Here we go. All right, now I know that there are some alumni who are tuned in tonight. So, if you are an alumni, and here's what I mean, a pre-2010 alumni. I know if you came last year, you are an alumni too, but I'm going to the older folks. Anyone who came to Spring Folly pre-2010, send me your name and about when you came to Spring Folly, and we're going to give you a Switchfoot CD. First alumni who sends me their name and approximately the year they came before 2010 is going to get a Switchfoot CD. Now, I chose Switchfoot specifically because Switchfoot has been around so long, there's a chance that some of these alumni actually listened to Switchfoot as a teenager, believe it or not. And so, and by the way, they still rock. So that's what's going to give away right now. The first youth leader who sends me their name and approximately what year they came, sorry, not youth leader, alumni. First alumni who sends me the year that they came, approximately will get it. Here we go. We're checking here. I'm getting some. We have a winner. We have a winner. This is, oh boy, we got a couple people call. Oh, they're just coming in now, fast and furious. But here it is. Amy Farron, 1992. Amy Farron, 1992. Now, that is definitely pre-2010. Well done, Amy. You get Switchfoot, Native Tongue, their brand new album, and I have this. It's awesome. So, well done. Well done. All right, we're going to give away, are we going to do one more? Yes. Here we go. We're going to give away one more CD here at this point, and then we're going to give away some stuff after our final interview. Here it is. This is for anyone who can tell me what year was their very first year at Spring Folly. Their very first year at Spring Folly is going to win the new Disciple CD, Love Letter Kill Shot. Anyone, the first person who tells me the first year they came to Spring Folly. The first year they came to Spring Folly. That's all you have to do. Tell me the year. The very first year you came. It could be last year. I'd still take that. This is for anyone. It's open to anyone. Tell me the year you came last, and we'll give you this Disciple CD. Love Letter Kill Shots. They're brand new one. It's excellent. Here we go. Oh my goodness. They're coming in now like fast and furious. Hang on. Hang on. I got to figure out which one came in first. Here we are. Hang on, hang on. Everybody's, oh my goodness, just coming in like nothing. The winner is Kaya Robinson. I had to check. Her name only said Kaya. It is Kaya Robinson who wins Disciples Love Letter Kill Shot. Well done, Kaya. Nicely done. 2016, she lists as her first year to coming for Spring Folly. Well done. All right. Now, we were all set to have Logan come, and we were able to connect with him to hear his message. We were really looking forward to having another Canadian band join us for the concert. Their name is All Above Me. And they weren't able to come. They had to cancel their tour, but we wanted to reach out to them and connect with them. And so why don't we check in here with Guiller and Britt from All Above Me, just to chat with them about Spring Folly. Well, welcome, Guiller. Welcome, Britt. Thanks for hanging out with us at Spring Folly tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. It's unfortunate that we we couldn't make it there, but hello to everybody watching. Thanks for tuning in. And hey, this might not be as good as the conference, but it's the next best thing. So we're happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do want to let our teens know that even though we couldn't have All Above Me at Spring Folly this year, we've already booked them for next year. So we're going to still get to see them. It's just going to be delayed by a year. So that's where we're going. But hey, why don't we start with a little bit of fun? You're from Alberta. Yes. I'm from Ontario. and there does tend to be a little bit of rivalry between the two provinces. And so what I thought I'd do is I thought we'd start with a game called Alberta or Ontario. Does that sound good? So
Okay.
I'll throw a trivia question your way, and you tell me whether you think it's Alberta or Ontario. I will tell you they start out a little easier, and then they get a little harder towards the end.
All right,
Here we go.
man.
All right.
I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous about this because even though we're from Alberta, like we're never here. We're barely in Canada. So we're always traveling all over the US and Europe, and we're going to the Philippines, and like we barely ever play Alberta. So although we're from here, we're not here very often. So
All right,
we'll see what
good.
happens.
Good. So you've set the bar really low now for you. That's good. All right. Good. I like that. All right. First question. Which province has the biggest mountain?
Alberta, for
Alberta.
sure.
Yeah. I don't think Ontario ranks in the top 20 or anything like that. Yeah, for sure. Alberta's got lots of them. Mount Columbia is the tallest according to Wikipedia. So that
I did not know that.
knowledge. Sounds good. Okay. Which province has the biggest lake?
Oh,
Definitely Ontario.
Yeah.
We've toured through Ontario a few times, and man, there's parts from like I think let me see if I remember, like is it called Kenora, Ontario? That's where it starts.
Yeah.
We just drive next to a lake for like 16 hours until we get to like something else.
Yeah, that's right. Lake Superior, Lake Huron. We got some great lakes here. That's what we say. Okay. Which province has the largest mall?
Ooh. I'm gonna say
Alberta.
Alberta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got the West Edmonton Mall, and that's not just the largest between the two provinces. That's apparently the largest in all of North America. So yeah, you win that one. Okay, so here we go. Which province has the world's longest beaver dam?
Ooh.
I'm going to say Ontario because we don't have very much water here.
Is that right?
You know what? No, it's Alberta, apparently.
Really?
Apparently
Wow.
it's in like Wood Buffalo National Park. It's like 850 meters long.
Wow.
Crazy. I mean, that's what the internet says, so I'm going with it, right? So-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, here we go. Which province has produced the most prime ministers of Canada?
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Okay. Okay, do you know?
I
can
don't.
take a guess. I'm gonna say Ontario because there's just so many more people there. That's the only reason.
Well, that is a good guess, and you are correct. It is Ontario.
Yes.
But I will say that it's largely because of when Canada started. It's actually pretty close. It's 5-3, and we had a bunch of the early ones. So, and Alberta's obviously had the most recent past prime minister was Stephen Harper. So, okay, here we go. Which province has won the most Stanley Cups?
Oh, jeez.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I know that the Maple Leafs are like the #1 most hated team. So I'm gonna go with Alberta because we have two solid teams here.
Oh my goodness. Gisha, are you like a Calgary Flames fan?
No, none of us are like sports people at all.
Okay.
I used to, but I haven't for years.
Okay.
Honestly, like we're always traveling so much that it's like we're not connected to anything specific.
Yeah, we can't keep up.
We're just always somewhere new, so we're just kind of getting used to like wherever we are that day.
Yeah. No, well, that's good. Well, the answer is Ontario because of the hated Maple Leafs. But again, that's because of the early days. I mean, if you look most recently, like since we last won our cup in Ontario back in 1967, I think Alberta has won it 5 times. So between Calgary and Edmonton, mostly Edmonton, but yeah. So there we go. All right, you did pretty well. For people who are always on the road there. Listen, why don't you give me a little bit of history of All Above Me as a band. Tell our listeners, our watchers here, what All About Me is about and how you guys started.
We none of us are actually from Alberta, so it's kind of God put us all 3 pretty much in the same college, not all at the same time, but we have a bunch of mutual friends, and that's kind of how we got together. Since then, we've just been touring really hard. You know, our first show, I think, was with Manifest just 2 weeks after we joined our band, which was interesting. But since then, we've just been growing really fast, and we've played some really big shows. We've played in a lot of different countries. We've played Germany a couple of times now. It's probably my favorite place to go. We were planning on going to be in the Philippines this year, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Still in the works for now.
We'll see. We'll see. But,
And you know, we started having, we're a very new band. Really, we've been together for like 4.5 years. That's nothing. And we've been doing this full time. Like, this is our only job for 2.5 years now. And we just thought at the beginning, we thought we're so good. We're having so much success. But now, with what we know now, we realize that God has literally set us up for all this success, but it's for a reason that we didn't understand back in the day. And the reason is that this has just become a full ministry. This is not about business, not about music business, not about fans, it's not about sales, not about our profile. It's about Jesus. That's what it's turned into. And a lot of people, if they have never seen All Above Me live before, they will not understand that, because all they see is what everybody sees, which is just a band online online they can see music, we play concerts, things like that. But until they see what we do, which is full-on evangelism, you know, we play hard rock music, but our music is just a small tool that God has given us to bring people together so that we can share the gospel. And so what people can expect at our shows is, you know, we play hard rock music, but we also do a lot of worship. We share our testimonies of dealing with suicide, with depression, how, you know, that's something that Britt has dealt with in her life. I share my testimony of how I got kicked out of Bible camp, and I hated Christians, I hated God, I hated church. And we use that to show how God has used that to impact our lives in a positive way, and how we're now using that to hopefully impact other people's lives.
Cool. Well, listen, your most recent album is Long Live the King. That came out just in the fall, right? That's when you dropped that one?
December. Yes, that's right.
December, yeah. So like not that long ago. Why don't you tell us some of the themes that you explore on that one?
As far as a theme goes, what we've seen is that our album turned out to be kind of a bit of a story of God and who he is from beginning to end. Well, not to end, because I think I'm going to keep writing, but like the first song is called Wings of Treason. That's literally the story of Satan. It literally talks about Satan, who was an angel, and then, you know, he was such a powerful angel, but he kind of abused his power, and God sent him to hell. That's what the first song talks about. Then the next song is called Long Live the King. That song is talking about, you know, just God. Like, really, God is the king. He's above all. And then after that, we go into a song, which is my favorite one. It's called New Generation. And it talks about how we've been called to raise up a new generation, and that's a generation of faith. So the song idea came about because I heard somebody say that to people who don't have faith, like Christians, we might seem crazy. Like, what are we thinking about? But that's what it's like here on earth. We seem like people with faith are crazy. But in heaven, that's the most normal thing there is to have faith in God, right? It might not make sense to us here on earth, but that's how the kingdom wants us to live. And there's some other songs, like the song Unmask. It talks about what Jesus wants to say to you. And that's the first time we've ever heard that or tried that. It's a song where Jesus is the one who's actually talking in the song. It's always us talking in the song about Jesus. But this song is specifically, we kind of put ourselves in like, okay, what would Jesus want to say to somebody? And so anyway, we're really proud of the album, and we're really happy of the response that it's received.
Well, listen, that's great. Thanks so much for joining me today. We want to give the people who are watching, the teens who are watching Spring Folly Live, a little taste of your music. And so we're going to play for them now. Long Live the King. Guiller,
awesome.
Britt, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having us. We'll see you next year.
All right, take care.
shit, never stop it. See this path that he chose, don't block it. Grab mics all day, keep it rocking. Never let it go, it can never be an option. Yeah, dropping hits with the best of them. If I get tired, then I know I'm caressing them. Jesus made a way, you don't mess with him. This is the reason I'm here, so I'm blessing him. It don't matter what the world brings. See me covered by the blood, it's enough over everything. Truth every time we sing. Shout it out, Lord, let the king.
Down goes deception, let righteousness rise.
I'm not afraid, I've been brought back to life.
Fire away.
I am covered by an armor that you can't break through.
Fire away.
'Cause I stand a solid rock.
Long live the king.
I'm not afraid, I've been brought back to life.
Fire away.
I am covered by an armor that you can't break through.
Fire away.
'Cause I stand a solid rock.
Long live the king. Long live the king.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight at Spring Folly Live. We're going to give away a couple of more things right now. Now, I have to just say this. We have had a couple of guys at the back who've been working really hard to make sure that this could go on, and any glitch that comes up from YouTube or whatever, they've been working hard to solve it. They felt a little bad about kind of the glitches at the beginning, and I don't think they need to do this, but they just want to. So here's what it is. Our video tech said, you know what? We're going to give away a couple of shirts from the tech booth. So these are Spring Folly shirts. They're going to buy 2 Spring Folly shirts to give away. And so here's what it's going to be. The first 2 people who message me their shirt size will win one of those shirts. How about that? A new Spring Folly 2020 live stream shirt. We're going to do that for you. The first 2 people who send me their t-shirt sizes are going to win that. So go ahead, send those t-shirt sizes through, and then we're going to open up the treasure chest, and we're going to see what we're going to give away last. Here we go. All right. We're starting to get people coming in. Oh my goodness, they're coming in. Fast and furious now. Give me a second here, people. Give me a second. My goodness. All right. We have 2 winners, ladies and gentlemen, 2 winners who have got their stuff in now. Here it is. We have from Manitoulin Island, James Scott. James gets himself a t-shirt. And I think, where is this person from? I can't remember where they're from. But I know who it is. Erica Sari. Erica wins a t-shirt too. So James, Scott, and Erica are both going to win t-shirts. Well done to both of you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the night where we're just going to take a minute here. And we're going to give away a couple of HD Kindle tablets. That's right, these are brand new, still in the shrink wrap. Now, in order to get this is what we said. In order to get one of these tablets, you needed to pre-register for Spring Folly. And I know that the registration thing, people were holding off because we didn't know whether we were going to run it or not, but we had a pile of people who pre-registered. I also told people if they went on the internet and used the hashtag Spring Folly live stream, I'd include your name in this too. So I've done both of that. And so, by the way, this wasn't coffee. I was just pretending to drink it. This is actually the names of the people who pre-registered and used the Spring Folly live stream hashtag. And so here we go. I'm going to reach in and draw out a name. Here it is. The person who wins is none other than, oh, by the way, I should say, before we make the announcement, and I know I'm just drawing out the suspense right here at this point, but this was just the teenagers. This was just the teenagers. I have another one that I'm giving out to youth leaders in a minute. But the teenager who wins the Kindle Fire tablet is Jenna Down. Well done, Jenna. All righty. And I have back over here another cup full of the names of youth leaders. We're going to give out the second one right now. Here we go. I'm going to reach in and pull out the name of a youth leader. Which youth leader is it going to be? Here it is. The youth leader who wins the second tablet, Jacob McLean. Jacob McLean. Well done, Jacob. And so we have our two winners on the night for Spring Folly live stream. A couple of things I just want to tell you just as we wrap up here. First of all, I love and I support Canadian Christian music, and I want to encourage you to reach out and check out some of these Canadian bands who we've had at Spring Folly, who we interviewed tonight. So check out allabovememusic.com. Check out All Above Me. Check out Manic Drive at manicdrive.com. Check out the music of Sky Terminal at skyterminal.net. And I should mention that you can get a free song at skyterminal.net. Billion Stars, they're giving it away free there. If you go, I think you have to give them your email address, and then you get a free copy of that single. We also had some other people who we interviewed who we just didn't have time tonight to squeeze in, but I'm going to post those interviews tomorrow because they're friends of Spring Folly too. And so Tristan Goslow is a Christian rapper here right in Sault Ste. Marie, does a great job. He goes by the name Bold Noise. I'm going to upload his interview tomorrow to the Spring Folly YouTube account, but check out his music on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music. Check out his stuff too. And also, we were looking forward to having Max Warren, who performs flow arts under the name Aurealis Flow. And so we're going to upload the interview we did with Max as well. And so we're going to make sure we get as much time to as many of our Spring Folly friends as we possibly can. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. There are a couple thank yous we need to give tonight before we wrap things up here officially. The first, I want to thank Paul and Darren for all their help here getting this going and working through all the technical glitches. Sometimes YouTube worked, sometimes it didn't, and they sweated through that and got us going. I want to thank them for it. Chris from Ecotech, who provided us with a few things. Chris always runs our sound. He does a great job, and we didn't partner this year, but we're looking forward to having him back next year. Wes and Angela at the Scripture Gift and Bookshop here in the Sioux. We got a lot of our stuff from them. They just give us a great deal. We think they're wonderful. And I should mention that you can buy stuff online, and if you mention Spring Folly in the comments section, they'll give you the discount so that you can save the tax. So check them out online. They'll ship it to you. You can also go right there and pick it up at the back door from them as well. And so we just want to do that. And finally, I want to thank all of the folks at Island Bible Chapel who for over 30 years have put Spring Folly on. They've done a great job, and this year, I know a lot of us were disappointed that we couldn't do this, but we have had a lot of people praying that this would go off tonight, that we'd be able to do this. And so I want to thank the folks at Island Bible Chapel, the folks at Spring Folly, Josh and Lynn, who are our coordinators, who do a great job this year behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in. It has been a good night. We will see you next year, hopefully, at Central Algoma Secondary School, the last full weekend in April. Have a good night.